I didn't feel any resentment. I felt rejection and abandonment. So I was trying to find my father in different people, different situations. This figment of my imagination. I'm trying to find this man that does not exist.
Being about 5 years old and watching my mom and dad kind of argue or fight a little bit. And I remember asking my mom just a few years ago, did my dad ever say that to you, like you weren't good enough? And she said, oh, he used to say that to me all the time. We were extremely poor. So I am out here with my good friend Sharifa, all the way coming from Texas, Atlanta. I don't know where you from.
I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Cincinnati.
So Cincinnati by way of Atlanta.
Okay.
And then Houston was my last stop before I moved here.
All right, so we're just gonna act like you an ATL.
Yeah, for sure.
We're just gonna connect on that level. That's all.
Peace up.
That's it. A-town down. We're gonna connect on that level.
Yes.
But you've been here in Kenya for about what, 4 months?
Yeah.
What do you think so far?
So far I love it. The people are very friendly. The only kind of culture shock I've had is the toilet, because some of them are in ground.
Okay, so
yeah, the squatter.
As some, like I told you before, your Kenya is different than my Kenya.
Oh, you don't wait, in the CBD area though? You haven't been down to the CBD area?
Your Kenya is different than my Kenya. I'm like, wait, what okay.
Oh, so you hadn't seen one of those?
I've seen them in Rwanda. I have not, but then again, I know where not to look. So.
You know where not to go.
Yes,
my experience here, I've seen a lot of Kenya in just 4 months.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
One thing that I'm sure you have noticed so far is the family aspect of Kenya. And I admire it, but it leaves me feeling empty because it's hard to find that in the States or where I'm from. So seeing the family units here and how they operate, it kind of is intriguing for me because I didn't really get that at home. And I'm realizing since being here that one of my American PTSD is what we call it. One of my traumas is being raised in a single parent household. And I know you actually wrote a book about that experience. And I just wanted to, connect with you on that level to see if you were feeling the same way that I'm feeling. And I think if we're able to share that, a lot of times, especially we're dealing with white Kenyans and they're dealing with us, they can see some of the trauma that we go through in the States and understand more of maybe why we, especially for the women, why we have the aggression that we have, why we have to be a certain way or we're trained to be a certain way that the women here don't have to be. And so I think it'll bridge the gap as far as just sharing that conversation, sharing that experience, that trauma actually. So tell us about your book.
So I'm working on a book. It's called Did I Love Myself Enough? And it's funny because it just came to me like there are a lot of women who grew up without their fathers, and it's something that we do actually need to talk about. So it's like it starts off like as like a once upon a time, story, but it's inclusive of so many of our stories in our background. So when I moved here to Kenya, I was interested in how Kenyans thought about American women, how they thought about Black American women, and they did say that they feel like they were kind of loose, kind of
loose,
kind of fast, or kind of because they watch too much TV. They watch what they see on YouTube, and they watch these videos, right? And I'm like, and we're having conversations with Kenyans talking about our backgrounds, and you're right. A lot of Kenyans here have grown up with both their parents, their mother and their father. So I have to explain to them, well, a lot of us have not grown up with both parents. We don't know anything about that type of that upbringing. I have to explain to them, like in the 80s, how the government brought crack into the Black communities and tore our families apart. They have no idea about the struggle, okay, and that we've gone through in the States. So when I tell them, they're like, what? They have no clue. They have no clue about how our families were split apart, and how this drug just tore our communities down, took fathers from the home and mothers.
That's the welfare system.
Right. Then in the welfare too, you can't have a man here in your home if you're getting any help, any assistance from the government. Taking our man from the home, women having to be that breadwinner for the whole household. So
do you recall the last time you seen your father?
When's the last time I seen him?
Not necessarily as a grown-up, but as a child. If we can talk more about, the last time you seen your father as a child and just some of the things you went through growing up that you realize now you can contribute to not having a father in the home.
Oh man, but my memories of my father not that great. I know my father, but I was that child that was on the porch at her grandparents' house waiting for her dad to come.
Me too.
And he never
showed up. At the grandparents' house.
Yes, that's what we met.
Looking out the window.
Right. I used to be on the porch and he never showed up. And I was always like, I had so much faith and confidence in him. I'm like, he'll come next time.
In my mind, I was a daddy's girl.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know.
Right.
And my daddy was rich in my mind.
Oh, well, that's good.
And when he come, he gonna buy me everything.
Right. And I just knew I had so much faith in him that he's gonna come next time. And he never showed up.
The last memory I have of my father as a child, I had to recall it for, let's just call it therapy later on in life. But the question was, what's your last moment of pain or your earliest moment of pain? And I recalled being about 5 years old and watching my mom and dad kind of argue or fight a little bit, and sitting in the living room, hearing a knock at the door, and police officers come through the door. One white, one black. And it was the white guy that pretty much grabbed my father and dragged him out of the house. And I believe, as far as having a father in a home, that was the last time. And it triggers me because I had, for the longest time, an anger towards police and didn't know it until I had to recall that memory back. And also a level of disrespect for men, because I'm getting the yearly phone calls and I'm gonna come see you, and the main one for me was I always got promised he's gonna buy me a bike. When I come, I'm gonna bring you that bike you've been asking for. And this went on for years. And the promises were never kept. And the staring out the windows, crying because I'm watching some other children or even my own family members, their fathers coming to the house to pick them up for the weekends, but mine never did. And it started to build up a certain resentment towards men. And that carried with me. Even to here, even to Africa, it's a certain thing in me where I look at men strong or weak. There's no middle grounds. Either, And even in how I look at people, strong or weak. And I know I don't see the gray. I don't see the, it's just something about how promises, how you tell it, like you cannot say certain things to me because it'll trigger me. So can you relate to what I'm saying, or am I just crazy with it?
So for me, it was the opposite. Growing up without my father, it made me feel like rejected. I grew up, and I grew up looking for acceptance from boys, men, teenagers. It was the opposite for me. I didn't get angry. I didn't feel any resentment. I felt rejection and abandonment. So I was trying to find my father in different people, different situations. This figment of my imagination. I'm trying to find this man that does not exist. Mind you, I knew him, but I didn't know him. I didn't grow up in the home with my father. He paid child support, but he was not there.
Not knowing or knowing where that stemmed from, I constantly felt like I'm not good enough. Never been good enough. You have that thought, well, why weren't I good enough for him to love me? Why weren't I good enough for him to stay? And it's crazy because I hear that all the time. Even as this big old grown woman, I hear that. I'm constantly trying to prove to myself that I'm good enough. And I remember asking my mom just a few years ago, did my dad ever say that to you, like you weren't good enough? And she said, oh, he used to say that to me all the time. He used to tell me all the time, I'm not good enough to be his wife, or I'm not good enough for this or that. And so, we realized he must have said it while she was carrying me, because that's been like a part of my imprint. So I'm constantly trying to prove to myself, to my mom, that I'm good enough, for whatever that is. And being here on the continent, I still struggle with that. I struggle with not being, if I don't feel like you're respecting something that I'm doing, or you're respecting me, or you're disrespecting me, it's all in. It's from 0 to 100 for me, because I'm constantly in my head trying to prove that I'm good enough.
Right.
And that's a question. Well, why am I not good enough to love? Did you go through that type of emotions?
Yeah, and another thing too is not only was my dad not a part of my life, I had a stepfather too, and that marriage didn't last. So then he was gone. So I felt let down by two men. You know what I mean? So that's double. Here we go again, abandonment, rejection. So that's on top, one thing on top of another. And I was like 11, 12, being that young, trying to sort out those type of emotions, that's a lot. And I think for me, I'm such a nurturer. For me, not having the father, I think I may maybe over nurturing. I think I may be maybe too understanding,
willing to let things slide just so they don't leave.
Yeah, I've been in that situation before. I just think that because when you don't really see, you haven't had a good example of how a man and woman, should be together, how it's supposed to work, how you function. You kind of just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because for you were a nurturer. For me, I was a fighter. Constantly dealing with the anger of being rejected, of not having that balance of male and female in the house.
I wish I was angry, and sometimes I do wish I was angrier, and I wish I wanted to fight. You know, I do. I wish I had more of that fight in me.
Very much so. Realized later on in life that I was an angry black woman. You know, that was really a big part of who I am, or who I was. Because not having a dad, but also watching a single mom raise 2 children on her own, and the system is definitely against her. Because I watched my mom go to college at 45 years old, 40 years old, I don't remember what age, but she was going to college and working full time, trying to raise two children. We were extremely poor. We eating the mayonnaise sandwich with pepper on it was just a norm for us. I didn't know we were poor. That was just life, and everyone I knew had that kind of life. But looking now, as when you got older, there's a lot of anger that comes with that. Being lights off, power not on, and hot water don't work, or all kinds of stuff. That was the way of life. And I know that if I didn't have to watch my mom go through that, I wouldn't have become the woman that I am today. The constant drive to achieve and conquer. But there was a lot of anger. I think it's important to understand, especially because we're coming over here in droves. And I'm learning a lot more single black women is coming, solo travelers. And we do carry sometimes a lot of the aggression, a lot of the hurt that we come from. And it's very important that people understand that we're not aggressive by nature. We're aggressive because we've been taken out of our nature and made to be put in situations where we're fighting to survive. And a lot of times that's hard for people to deal with.
Yeah. That's true. And that hurt, that you do bring that hurt with you. But I think, like before I came, I did a lot of healing work. You know what I mean? And I think that if you can try to work on yourself before you even come here. You know what I'm saying? Try to figure out, what do I need to work on so that you don't carry so much here. Because when you get here, it seems like it's amplified. It's like times 10. If you're angry, it's going to be times 10. If you're a pushover, it's going to be times 10 when you get here. So, and I say all that to say too, so during, once I got a certain age, I started doing the healing work. I realized that I had to, forgive my father. I had to do all that, and I'm glad I did before I came here, because I don't know what what I would have been once I got here, still having those quote unquote daddy issues. You know what I mean? So, it's very interesting. All right, my sister, I thank you so much for just having this chat with me. We have to do it again. We have to talk a little bit more, get a little bit more in depth on this topic. Yes, I agree.
Some of the traumas that come with us from the States that we have to deal with. And how can people learn more about you? Where can they find you at?
Okay, well, I'm on Instagram, the Empress _Sharifa, SHARIFA.
Okay.
I'm also on Facebook, BJ Martin, and my YouTube channel is MS BJ Martin, Ms. BJ Martin.
All right. Well, thank you. You guys, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and share, and make sure you come back for that part 2.